The handoff opens with Stephanie Harper and a woman named Joan running through a restricted zone near the Uranium City internment camp in Canada. The chase ends beneath a looming airship where a soldier in power armor blocks the path and orders both women back to the camp. Before the soldier fires, another figure rushes forward and detonates a bomb, killing the armored guard. At that point, Stephanie jolts awake inside the vault where Chet sleeps beside her. As more of the memory surfaces, the escape turns darker. The woman traveling with Stephanie gets shot and urges Stephanie to head south across the Canadian border toward warmer land. She warns of an incoming flood and tells Stephanie to hold onto the highest branch available and survive. She adds that hurting others for survival brings no judgment from God and says Stephanie should stop seeing victims as people and start seeing them as Americans. While traveling south, Stephanie slits a man's throat to steal a single can of pork and beans. At the border, a customs guard compliments her appearance, then ends up dead moments later as Stephanie crosses into the United States. Back in the vault, the day before the wedding arrives, Chet asks Stephanie why marriage matters to her. Stephanie snaps back and says work stands as the reason. Chet quietly washes dishes and notices the sink jammed with an object resembling Woody's glasses. When Chet asks about Woody's whereabouts, Stephanie says Woody joined a leadership exchange program in Vault 31. Chet breaks the glasses in half and forces the pieces down the drain. The focus then shifts to Overseer Betty Pearson. Water rationing still stands, and conditions worsen to the point where showers and toilet flushing become illegal. Inside the office, Betty opens a hidden safe behind a painting and pulls out a box of personal keepsakes while mourning Hank and Hidden Truths. Following Stephanie's request, Betty leaves the box between Vaults 32 and 33. Betty admits constant surveillance over Stephanie and claims valuable knowledge from earlier conditioning. Betty reminds Stephanie about a promise to restore half of Vault 33's water supply. Stephanie replies that water access will happen and takes the case toward Vault 32. Betty refuses involvement beyond the agreement. Stephanie answers that the deal only covered water and says future outcomes stretch beyond personal control. The next day, the wedding begins. Stephanie says, "I do." Then Chet answers with, "I don't." Stephanie warns against refusal, yet Chet demands witnesses while voicing fears about Stephanie's plan to harm residents and mentions the glasses found in the disposal system. Chet then exposes a deeper secret. Stephanie was not born inside the vault. Stephanie stands as 200 years old and originally from Canada. Chet proves the claim by showing official identification. Vault 32 residents turn hostile, forcing Stephanie to flee the ceremony. She locks herself inside her office as voices outside pound on the door and chant for entry. Meanwhile, Norm wakes after being strangled unconscious and finds escaped vault dwellers debating his fate. Ronnie cites the Vault Tech Handbook, stating impersonation of upper management carries a death sentence. The group agrees with the ruling. Once awareness returns to Norm, the group knocks Norm out again. Later, Claudia urges escape, yet Norm reaches for a radio and calls for Lucy, asking for help. The transmission reaches Vault Tech headquarters, though Lucy never hears the message due to a mission targeting the mainframe. Norm also calls out to his father, questioning the future of the Vault and demanding reasons behind years of silence. Soon after, the Vault 31 team arrives and takes Norm away. Elsewhere, the Ghoul, Maximus, Thaddeus, and Dogmeat move together toward a new California Republic camp. Maximus explains a promise from the Ghoul to lead the group to Lucy. The Ghoul responds by naming Lucky 38 as the destination, while pointing out the route leads the wrong direction. Access requires entry through a sealed vault, connected to the Ghoul's family. The journey also demands crossing the Strip, an area overrun by Deathclaws, which forces preparation for combat. While walking, the Ghoul suddenly aims a weapon at Maximus and demands answers about the cold fusion device. Maximus repeats plans to deliver the device to Lucy, describing Lucy as someone who chooses right actions. The Ghoul accepts the explanation, lowers the weapon, and continues forward. A flashback reveals events inside Lucky 38 years earlier. Cooper Howard stays inside a hotel room with another woman, while his wife Barb hides nearby. The woman turns out to be Stephanie, employed at the hotel. Stephanie recognizes Cooper from vault advertisements and asks how vault entry works. Cooper dismisses the promise behind the vaults and suggests trust in human decency instead. Stephanie presses for information about Vault Tech employment. Cooper points toward an unconscious Hank, stuffed inside a laundry hamper. Stephanie smiles and wheels the hamper out as Barb returns to Cooper. Later, Cooper sits inside the same Vegas bar visited in the present. Representative Welch joins the table and thanks Cooper for help after a jail release. Cooper praises Welch's intentions and expresses belief in people who aim to help others. Welch asks how much Cooper understands about the company behind the billboards. Cooper explains knowledge about Barb's involvement in delivering an unmatched weapon to Robert House in exchange for Vault Tech bombs. The plan leaves only selected survivors behind. Cooper asks Welch about personal use of limitless energy. Welch answers with plans to give power freely to the public. Cooper knows transport methods for the cold fusion device but hesitates. Welch offers access to the president, newly arrived in Vegas, allowing a direct handoff. Success would end decades of resource warfare within a single night. Back in the present, the ghoul breaks into an abandoned warehouse packed with weapons. Thaddeus attempts bonding by commenting on physical changes from mutation, including a disturbing mouth with teeth growing from his neck. Maximus questions the ghoul's motives. The ghoul frames the situation as a transaction and demands the cold fusion device in exchange for weapons. The ghoul explains belief in Maximus's intentions, but insists the device must first reach someone dangerous. Only one figure ever won in Vegas, so manipulation stands as the winning strategy. The ghoul reveals NCR power armor. Maximus hands over the cold fusion device. The group returns to Freeside with Maximus now wearing power armor. Town residents stare in shock, then begin following the group, celebrating what appears to be the NCR's return. The ghoul orders rapid movement toward Lucky 38 and tells Sniper Thaddeus to leave a rooftop position. Without warning, Thaddeus loses an arm. The group orders Thaddeus to stay behind while the others push forward. On the strip, the plan puts Maximus between the ghoul and the Deathclaws, turning the moment into something like an old Western standoff. Maximus holds up at first until his armor gets stuck on a car, and the Deathclaw shifts focus to the ghoul. The ghoul fires electric rounds at the creature, though they barely affect it. At the last second, Maximus sneaks up behind the Deathclaw and cuts off its head. The ghoul gains access to Lucky 38 while Maximus stays outside, fighting more Deathclaws until they overpower him and knock him back into Freeside. Once he lands there, people crowd around as another Deathclaw prepares to strike. Meanwhile, inside, the ghoul walks into House's old penthouse office and finds it empty. He presses a large red button on House's computer system, opening a hidden room inside the penthouse. He places the cold fusion device into a lab inside the room, which triggers the computer to reboot. When it comes back online, House's consciousness appears, revealed to exist inside the system. The episode then flashes back to Cooper and Barb, where she explains that saving their family means saving the world, before Cooper leaves on his mission, getting into a car with Welch and the president, where Cooper hands over the cold fusion device. Back at the Vault-Tec offices, workers continue happily building mind control devices while Hank watches with pride. Lucy tells her father this path might save the world, though it feels wrong. When she asks what the devices do to people's brains, Hank explains they wipe away memories of past horrors. As the control dial increases, the memory loss grows stronger, and the mainframe inserts new thoughts, reshaping people into good citizens. Lucy demands they shut everything down and leave together, though Hank explains the process cannot be reversed once started. To stop more devices from being built, the mainframe controlling them would need to be destroyed, and it sits in the basement. Hank and Lucy ride a golf cart down there, with Hank teaching her how to drive. He mentions wishing they had lived a normal life, and Lucy replies they already had one before he ruined it. In the basement, more workers stand around the mainframe. Lucy mentions needing water and potassium for an explosive, then runs into the same Legion soldier who nearly killed her before, now calmly mopping the floor. Lucy struggles with the truth that her father's work is wrong, yet it still functions. She brings up the Legion, warning they will continue hurting people, and says Hank's creation could stop them. Hank responds that they could stop them together. Later, inside a recreation of her old bedroom, Lucy puts on a yellow dress and heads to dinner with Hank inside his fake vault. They eat together while Hank remains handcuffed, and Biff refills their water glasses. Lucy asks if he remembers her, and he says he remembers meeting her earlier that morning, not their encounter at the NCR lookout. Hank claims the NCR and the Legion differ little from one another. When Hank burns himself in the kitchen, Lucy unlocks his cuffs. She says she understands his thinking, comparing one side's violence to the other's quiet corruption. This turns out to be a setup, as Lucy quickly cuffs Hank to the oven and takes his Pip-Boy. She admits Hank was a good father since she is not stupid, then leaves to shut down the mainframe. When Lucy enters the hidden vault holding the mainframe, she finds Welch's severed head resting on a table, wired into the computers. The handoff leaves Fallout set up for a strong Season 2 ending. Moving toward the finale, the story points toward deeper government corruption across past and present, along with the rise of major power figures shaping the future of the Wasteland.